The Cold War is the name given to the relationship that developed predominantly between the USA and the USSR after World War II. The deteriorating relationship between the two powers can be dated back to 1918, during Lenin's establishment of Bolshevism in Russia. The two countries had very different ideologies. The USA was a capitalist democracy. The USSR was a communist dictatorship. Capitalism is an economic system where people believed in private capital and sought to make profit from businesses rather than the state. Communism, on the other hand, was hostile to capitalism and saw it as an evil scheme to exploit the working class. Both sides believed that they held the key to the future happiness of the human race. Furthermore, the two sides' aims for Germany were different. Stalin wanted Germany to be ruined by reparations. He also wanted a buffer of friendly states around Russia for security from the West. Britain and America wanted a democratic and capitalist Germany as a world trading partner, strong enough to stop the spread of communism to the West. Fear for each other and the need for security broke their trust, and this is evident in the events that happened. For example, the Yalta and Potsdam conferences, the Truman Doctrine, Marshall Plan, and the Berlin Blockade. The Yalta Conference was held in February of 1945. There were signs of conflict, and the war was still going on, but it was clear that Hitler was going to be defeated. So the Allies met to decide how they would organize Europe after the war. They decided what to do with Germany, but when the three leaders met at Potsdam in July 1945, Hitler had been defeated. Also, Roosevelt had died and been replaced by U.S. President Truman. Truman was strongly against communism and had the atomic bomb when Russia did not. Furthermore, Stalin had ordered the non-communist leaders in Poland to be arrested. So at Potsdam, the tensions that were hidden at Yalta about Eastern Europe reparations surfaced into an open disagreement. The U.S. was scared of communist influence and did whatever it could to avoid it. The Truman Doctrine was a military aid to Greece and Turkey in hopes that communism would not spread to those areas. The Marshall Plan in 1947 was a $1 billion aid in the recovery of Europe after World War II. There was a worry that the political and economical instability would open way to communist ideas to the working class. But seeing as communist influence was growing hugely in France and Italy, the Soviets rejected this offer. Still, the plan succeeded, and the economy of Europe improved. The big factor that caused the separation of the USA and the USSR was the decision of the treatment of Germany. During the period from 1945 to 1948, Britain and the USA were trying to restore Germany. In January 1947, they joined their two zones in Germany together. This was called Bizonia. On June 1948, they announced that they wanted to create the new country of West Germany, and later on they introduced a new currency into West Berlin. This angered Stalin, and in reply he stopped all road and rail traffic into Berlin. This was known as the Berlin Blockade. The U.S. saw no other alternative but to send supplies to West Berlin by air. For 318 days, the U.S. supplied West Berlin by airlifting the goods. More than 250,000 flights carried 1.5 million tons of supplies. In conclusion, we can see that the USSR and the USA were separated by ideological differences. Each country wanted to defend itself, but a defensive action was often mistaken for an offensive strike. It is evident that tensions between USA and the USSR had been led on by long-term underlying factors from the clashes and misunderstandings that triggered the Cold War.